Everybody having fun today? All right. No, I am. I'm seriously. I'm having such a blast because I'm so lucky. I get to meet all these people from all of you from really interesting backgrounds, different jobs. There's UX people here, engineers, front end, back end, junior, very well established. So it's really, really fun for me to kind of like. I told you at the beginning of the day, maybe you didn't hear this, but I'm a family of 10 kids. I get to kind of recreate my childhood with, surrounded by so many wonderful people. All right, so I'm just going to read this bio because it's awesome. A Rising Star finalist for the 18th Annual Women in Technology Leadership Awards. At age 5, Priyanka gave an impromptu speech about an airplane which catapulted her to becoming the distinguished speaker she is today. At 5, wow, that's awesome. So that was like 7 years ago. At the U.S. National Academy of Sciences and Engineering and Medicine, she's responsible for creating and delivering the web strategy and future technology direction for a $30 million division. All right, let's give it up for Priyanka. Thank you.
Hi. Good afternoon. How are you doing? Thank you. So this has been a fun session so far and learned a lot about leadership. So how do we put it into practice? We need doers who can get you to that level, right? So that's exactly what I'm going to do today. And let's get started. So that's obviously me. I work at the intersection of science and technology. So that's Albert Einstein. And then there's me, who loves to hike. So today I'm going to draw some parallels from my hiking adventure and see if we can get some nuggets of wisdom. Are you in this with me? Yeah. Awesome. Let's go for it. And the special aspect, given that Pete spoke about how fun it is and it's a party time, absolutely Pete, because it's my birthday week, so I get to celebrate it with all of you. So that's me. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. You make me feel so special. So that's me 30 years ago, and that's my mom. And that's a picture from India, which is where I was born and brought up. And transition to... That's me probably when I was 10 years old. And these were back in the old days, in the early 90s, when you had to go to a photography studio to get your photographs done. Remember the old Kodak days where you have to wait for your negatives to be cleansed and then for the beautiful pictures like this to be shown back to you. And my mom loved dressing me up. And even till today, I can't beat her in terms of grooming. So thank you, Mom. And here's where I am today. And this is an interesting slide that I put together, figuring out what I did for my last 30 years of my life. And why did I make some decisions? So you can see 2 rows. The first row is basically all that I did for my Asian parents. Checkbox 1, undergrad in engineering. Checkbox 2, masters in computer science. I chose US as my home for education. Checkbox 3, MBA from University of Michigan. Awesome. Now I'm a leader at where I go. And then I realized, what do I do for myself? And that's how row 2 came into existence. I need to have a living, so I started working for a science-based research organization where I work at the intersection of science and technology. And then I started focusing on mentoring programs to groom myself as a leader. And then I realized I love to talk. As Pete mentioned, since age 5, I've been on stages starting, and Toastmasters was a wonderful platform for me. Toastmasters is a public speaking and leadership building organization, so where people love to have you talk. So that's what I've been doing. Now fast forward into a juncture in your life where theory and reality meets. I have all this bookish knowledge, I've gained all the leadership skills. But how do I put this into practice? And where do I stand with the rest of the world? Now let me ask you, why are you here today? What brings you to this conference? Alexis?
I want to be a better leader. And in the industry, I want to be a leader.
That's awesome. Andy?
I have a free ticket.
You had a free ticket? How cool is that? Sue, why are you here today?
To be for life market and inspiring to do something different than that.
That's awesome. Martha, did I make your day? This is why people came to your conference. So this is exactly what we're trying to figure out. What is my calling? What do I want to do with my life? And I figured out for me, I loved working with people. I mean, I still do love working with people. And that really makes my day. And I felt this is exactly what I want to do day in and day out, no matter what, even at 3 in the morning. ask you this. You all say you have a passion, right? From the morning you've heard about, I want to do something that makes an impact. How many of you agree with this thing? You want to be problem solvers. You want to focus on challenges. You can raise your hands high. This is your moment of glory. Well, there you go. Most of us want to do something and leave a legacy. And the biggest challenge, and here I'm going to be vulnerable, right? It's my birthday, I can do whatever I want, and everything stays within this room, within the parameters, I promise. The biggest challenge that I had was, I got to work with people day in and day out, which means I have to collaborate. You have a vision, you have to shape that vision into reality, and collaboration was super fun, right? Now here's the fun part of it. I promised you at the very beginning of my presentation that I want to talk about my hiking adventures and how that fit into my professional and personal space. I'm going to deliver on that promise. That's me from a hiking trip a couple of months ago. I'll let you cherish my picture there. So I'm going to talk about a framework. How cool is it, right, if I come up with an acronym that drives this world crazy? So what does LRU stand for from a software engineer perspective? Does anybody know?
Least recently used.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, my friend over there. Least recently used. And I'm going to talk about 3 concepts that are least recently used. And before that, let me tell you what least recently used, because it looks like it's always least recently used. So it's a memory efficient algorithm where if some memory is frequently used, you try to put in those aspects first. It's more like supply and demand, right? To break it into layman's terms, if you like Pop-Tarts and you go to a store, you want to make sure the merchant has more Pop-Tarts rather than Kit Kats, which nobody else is eating. So it's just a way of prioritizing it, right? So that's LRU. And there are 3 things that I thought I could frame around this concept. I'll let you focus on the first aspect. Second one. And here's the third one. So I'm going to talk about my challenges dealing with these 3 aspects of it and share some nuggets of wisdom, which can be takeaways for you on a Monday morning, maybe like today's Friday. So, the first aspect. Listening is a skill that we all know is underrated, but it's the most sought after skill as a leader. So out of the LRU framework that I'm going to talk about, how many of you happily listen to your better half, your sibling, your kids, or your Asian parents if it's me? Raise your hands. The others don't want to listen to everything? It depends. Michelle has a different theory there. I'll get to you. Maybe the happy hour session, Michelle. So let me talk to you about my hiking adventure. So these are some pictures from a hike that I did a couple of years ago. It's called the Little Devil Stairs hike. As the name implies, it's Little Devil Stairs. It's in Shenandoah Valley, Virginia. I was with this hiking group. This was my first hike ever. Growing up in India, all that I had to do was focus on my education and get my 4.0 GPA, nothing beyond that. But over here, I have all the freedom to do cool things like these. So it's basically a trail, which is almost 5 hours for an average hiker like me who can hike probably 7 or 8 miles in an entire day. And this is like a 2,300 feet gorge, and it's a vertical climb. So there I go, happily with my backpack and all the goodies that I need because I'm hiking, and then I see this wonderful gorge right there. What do I even do with this now? I need to get myself out of this place. And the way these structured hikes work is you have a hiking leader who gives you a map and gives you directions, which means you got to pay attention. And then they tell you if you get lost, here are some things that you can do. And being a perfectionist, I felt, hey, this is simple. I got it covered. And there are a lot of water crossings in between. If somebody has done this hike, maybe if not, you should do something for someone. I go, I don't have any friends, I just meet people here, these are strangers, and within a few minutes, people have started climbing the gorge. And I'm like, how do I get there? Why are you guys so far ahead of me? And then I get lost a handful of times. Finally, it was a humbling experience when I got to the very top of the hike. Thanks, Pete. Looks like you were still hearing me speak, right, all this while. Good. Then I realized, what can I learn from this? And what can I translate into my professional and personal workspace? 2 great things. One, you got to listen. And this is a 2-way conversation. And you got to lead with empathy. And this is a term that you've heard several times during this conference. And you don't need to be a leader to do any of these. So I'm talking about it from a perspective where, as a software engineer today, what can you do with no formal role, no formal title, to empower others in your team to be good people? So going back to my pearls of wisdom here, when I'm in teams in my professional space, I got to listen better. It's not just listening for the sake of responding, which has been one of my biggest challenges. I'm like, can you stop talking so I can just give you the solution, just go ahead and do it? That's not the way it's going to work. And the other aspect is getting to know my strengths. I got to listen and take instructions. And I don't have all the answers in the world, just like what a leader needs to. So that was one aspect. And the second aspect, as I told you, being a Toastmaster, I love to talk. So this is like way outside my comfort zone. I'm like, I need to keep shut and listen to people and then empower them. I'm like, I could have done the same job at the same time rather than helping somebody understand how to do it. Hey, but that's how you develop as a leader. So what a profound experience for my first hiking adventure. The second aspect, as part of our LRU framework, are for recognition. How many of you feel you are recognized for your work? That's awesome. Maybe 20%. The rest 80%, this is exactly for you. And I'm with you on this one. This is again me from the heights. And this is halfway through the hike. I love celebrating small successes, small milestones. And this is through, so I gave myself the permission to celebrate the milestones of teams, even when I don't lead them. Because most of my work is around inspiring people to do work, and then officially Priyanka is leading it. But then they don't report to me. So how do I balance that fine line? So here's just a snapshot. When I was leading my teams for another project last year, I got them little trinkets. These are called shelfies. So it's basically like a selfie that sits on a shelf with dangling legs. And these are simple ways in which you can recognize people. And I did this during Christmas. So I went to every one of my team member who reside in different floors of my 12-floor office. And then I put them in little gift baskets and gave it to them. And these are like grown-up people. These are not like kiddos. And everyone is so excited. I was just impressed when one of my teammates came to me and she said, Priyanka, I have a shrine for you. I was like, what? Like all the thank you notes that I've written for her over the last couple of years, all these shelfies and little trinkets, she literally has a place where she's posted all of that. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. Now the third aspect is, why doesn't anyone get me as part of the LRU framework? Why don't people understand me? And this is the trickiest of all, because I feel I'm the most articulate person in the world. I have a distinguished Toastmaster award, so I should have done something with that. But most of my time, my mom just tells me, you know what, you don't know anything about life. You're 30 years old, but you have no clue about what you're doing in your life. So that's the kind of feedback that I get. Yeah, you can laugh at me, that's fine. Make fun of me for today alone. So going back to my hiking adventure. When you hike with a lot of people, everybody has a different skill set that they bring. One is great at directions, one is great at mapping. If you get lost, they'll tell you exactly which way is north, which way is south. One would say, hey, I'm so empathetic. You sprained yourself, let me carry your backpack. Or let me just apply some ice. So it's trying to figure out who does what and how can you nurture those skill sets. So translating this back into your professional space. As a software engineer, maybe it's about how do you lead your teams to be effectively communicating with the stakeholders above and below? How do you help them gain their voice? How do you help them understand how this resolves into the business problem that you're trying to address? These are simple ways in which you can nurture people to think beyond the code in any aspect. So the biggest takeaway that I would have for you is Monday morning, you're going to, as part of my birthday gift, you're going to start thinking about these 3 nuggets that I'm going to share. 1, listen more. And this is two-way. Listen to what others are saying, and then listen for yourself as well, so you can be a better leader. Recognize achievements, go home, say good things to your family, kids, don't take life seriously, right? So find good ways to maybe get a cupcake on your way home for your friend or your sibling or your better half or even to your parents. Understand. Be empathetic and know that it's not the end of the world if people don't get you. You still have another week that you can get back to. And above all, titles don't matter. You don't have to be a VP. You don't have to be a CEO. Hey, if that's your calling, that's awesome. If not, just try to be a better person in everything that you do. Even after all this, you feel like, hey, Priyanka, you know what? I just got a free ticket. I'm just happy to be here for some good food. I totally agree with you, my friend Andy. So this is the last slide that I want to leave you with. So this was a hike in Pennsylvania, York County, and this is the track that President Abraham Lincoln took when he was going for his Gettysburg Address. So I thought this is aligning with my last slide. Irrespective of the track that you choose, be it a leader or a coder, it's your life. And I want to make sure you're happy with it. And a small nugget in this photograph, this is how I have fun to drive myself. It's crazy. The backpack that you see over here, probably, that's my backpack. The backpack that I'm wearing is not actually mine. It's another hiker of mine who was part of this group. And there was a friend of mine who was good at photography, so this is how you identify talent. And she told me, Priyanka, if you need a picture, you see the sunlight kind of glowing on me, right? The beam. It's because of the yellow backpack. She said, yellow works best with my blue and white attire, so I just stole the backpack from my friend. That's how you have fun. And I would say just be happy. And that's part of my signature that I have for everything. I already have my executive leadership signature, and this smiley is part of it, signaling my initial. And I'm leading my life in a happy way. The first 30 years of my life have been happy, is what I think, at least, for my parents. The next 30, I want to make sure I live for myself and be happy. On that note, this is the biggest takeaway that I would have for each one of you. Thank you.